I need to click a button, sorry. Hello? I think that worked. Right, let's hope the stream refreshes. There we go. Fantastic. Right, I have chat. Hi chat. I have video. Do I have sound? Yay, do I have sound? Right, assuming I do, hopefully, I'm gonna start streaming. Oh, my shoe come off. Oh, thanks for the compliment. Oh, I got a compliment. I feel so accomplished already. Right, let's tidy up my desk. What do you guys see? Right, today we are going to attempt to speed make a dagger that I have so well planned. Where's my dagger? I need a reference image. Okay, there we go. Right. Okie dokie. So, where do I even start? Foam is pretty much the same, but easier with I guess sculpting or kind of wood or whatever. It's just an easier material. In terms of tools that I need, it's fairly straightforward. Let's have a look. I have a knife. I guess a ruler is always handy. Let's see. A pen. Another knife. And some glue. That's pretty much all I need for foam. I shall get started. So to make a dagger, hopefully I can make this all in an hour. I don't have one of those Blue Peter moments where I made one earlier because I've been that extremely organized. But I have some stuff that I have pre-made this morning, which is kind of like a foam lollipop. Let me just get the camera up a bit. Oh, you can see my crotch. Nobody wants to see that. Let's adjust that. So what I've done so far is I have literally put a rod. You can use a fiberglass rod, or in my case, a wooden dowel, which I got £2 from B&Q. And I stuck 3 layers of foam together. Just going to bring this up to the camera a little bit. Where is my camera? Right, so I've used a different color foam, so you can see it on camera really. Ideally, you'd use the same color so you don't get the sandwich effect. So right now I have a 5mm, 10mm, and 5mm foam that's stuck together in like a sandwich. Yeah, this is a new channel for me too, Andy. So right now you can see the dagger that's on screen, on the just above the chat, and that's what I'm going to attempt to speed make. So the first thing I'm going to do, what kind of foam is it? It's kind of what people call EVA foam, but it's technically not EVA, but everyone calls it that. I got it from poly-props.com, which is a UK supplies company, and they sell quite a lot of different densities of foam. So I've got 100 kilograms per cubic meter density, if that even is a thing. They also do 65s and 45. 45 is kind of a bit lighter. The denser the foam, the better it is to sand, because it doesn't get as fluffy, kind of like wood. Everyone loves sanding their wood, and I guess denser it is, the less fluffy it gets. Right, let's start working on this foam lollipop. I'm gonna start, basically, I just need to find the rod, see where it ends, give it a little bit of bend. So always use a ruler for straight lines, because as perfect as I think I am, I'm not that perfect. I can't draw straight lines. So you can't really see it on here until I start cutting. Let's draw the shape of the dagger, I suppose. Freehand it. So what you can do, in case things do go wrong, you just kind of do it on paper first, see if the shape fits, and then just transfer it onto foam, kind of like tracing. But because I'm so organized and we are limited in time, good morning, Jennifer, I am going to just freehand it and see what happens. So this looks like it does something over here, maybe a little curve, and let's bring the blade all the way down. Oh, this is a bit fat in it. Okay, let's make it a bit slimmer. And then it's got some cool little bits here. Doesn't have to be exact because we're not really doing much of anything in terms of accuracy. So a little wavy design. I have no idea why they made it wavy, but I reckon that will do. So to cut foam, the most important thing is to have, well, a knife. I just use kind of any box cutter, but we just have to make sure the blade is extremely sharp even. So I'm just gonna sharpen it a little bit on the sharpening stone before I get started. When people say cutting foam, it's more like slicing foam rather than cutting it, because when you cut it, it starts getting a jagged edge, and it's just a pain in the ass to clean up, really. Oh, right. I guess let's get started, I suppose. Just let's start cutting. So it's slicing the foam. I'm dragging my knife all the way towards my body. People say don't drag towards yourself, but it shouldn't matter too much as long as you keep your fingers well clear. You can definitely see it, so I'm going to just drag. I'm going to adjust the table down a little bit because it's a bit high for me. So, all the way, using the entirety of the blade, dragging it all the way down to where my lines are, using a little bit of force, but because the knife is sharp, it should be like cutting through butter with a hot knife. As you can see, it's not jaggedy at all. Nice clean cut all the way across, just to demonstrate what happens if you start sawing. So if you don't extend the blade fully, kind of like this, which is what a lot of people do, you kind of start sawing the foam like this. And instead of having a clean cut, you get this, well, unfinished cut you have to rip open, and as you can see here, it creates a little bit of a jagged edge. It's not the end of the world, you can always clean it up with a Dremel. I kind of have some attached to this side of my table. Just going to turn this on, it might be a little bit loud. Let me know if the volume's alright. Ooh, that's scary, isn't it? You just have to tidy it up, but that is just unnecessary time you have to spend just to clean up the edges. But if you do have a sharp knife and you extend it, you can clearly see it's a lot less effort, and we all like to be as lazy as we can possibly be. Well, if you do have any questions, fire it over and I shall continue cutting. And I'll let you enjoy some of that porno music. Same techniques all the way through, one cut. And then what I'm doing here, I'm just cutting all of the straight lines as much as I possibly can before doing the curved inner lines. Definitely work smarter. Right, let's get rid of all of these bits. Again, one cut all the way through. Now, oops, we are starting to see the shape of the dagger. Obviously, not every cut you do will have a clean line. That's why we have the Dremel. So demonstrating another tool, which I had on my table, always keep a clean working surface so you can find your, oh, there it is, it's under my ruler. I have a scalpel, any sort of scalpel will do. This just helps with the finer details and the tighter curves, obviously. Bigger is not always better. So I'm just cutting it through here, following these lines that I so faintly drew with a black marker on black foam. Absolute genius idea right there. And this didn't cut all the way through, but at least I have a curve of some sort. I'll tidy it up momentarily with a Dremel or something. So just gonna cut through the other side as well. Oh shite, I didn't draw on the other side, so I only have half a template because I was being lazy. Where does this go? Probably about here. It doesn't matter. Whatever. We'll just wing it. Some sort of wavy design will do. Oof. Right, let's rip this all out. It's not as clean as I would hope for, but this is where a little bit of dremeling would sort. So this is what I told you exactly not to do, which is sew in the foam. And as you can see, it creates a very unclean edge right in here. See all this fluffy bits coming off. We don't like that. Oh, what I haven't talked about is what glue I use. But before I come to that, Amy has asked, Kenny, what got you started into cosplay creation? That is a good question. I was poor and I was stingy is the short answer. Because I went to my first Comic-Con back in like 2013 in London, and I thought, oh my god, all these people are in amazing armor. How much will it cost me to buy an Iron Man suit? And it turns out over $3,000, and I don't have $3,000 to spare. So I thought, hey, I'll just look up some tutorials and see what happens. And then here I am, inhaling toxic glue and cutting camping mats, sticking it together. So, speaking of glue, I use this brand called Alpha Fix-A-Fix, which I just found on Amazon, basically. And it's a contact adhesive, but it's not the slushy kind. This is pretty solid. The glue hasn't gone off, despite what a lot of people think. But this is just to prevent mess, because well, I don't like mess. Anyways, glue only sticks to glue, so make sure you have a super thin layer. As you can see, not much of it. If you have clumps, it's not going to stick properly because it's going to have different drying times. So what I'm making now is pretty much the foam lollipop I spoke about earlier. So making sure I put glue all the way to the edges, because glue only sticks to glue, and I shall prove that point momentarily. Now I'm just using a bit of scrap foam to drag out the glue, so it creates a nice flat surface so it dries evenly. Oops, I fucked it up there. The other side of the foam lollipop, loads of glue, that's way too much. So what I'm going to do is just drag it with a scrap piece of foam, just using the edges, get it all the way out, and there is absolutely no rush in sticking things. You do this in a well ventilated area, because have a look, we have my friend Jamie outside in the garden being ventilated. So yeah, don't do this in your room. I used to do it in my room. I got really high all of the time, which is not ideal. Right, let's put the glue away. So the glue is pretty dry to touch. No, this one's not quite dry yet, but just to prove a point, this side doesn't really have any glue on it, and as you can see, it doesn't stick in the slightest. But as soon, so let me just get the foam lollipop through. Yeah. So this is to basically make the pommel. So since there's glue on glue, as soon as it touches, give it a little squeeze, and you literally cannot, well, you can if you're strong enough. Clearly I'm not strong enough, so it's not coming up off anytime soon. So let's tidy up all of these edges before we continue, because it's always easier to start with a nice straight edge. I'm using a slightly less dense foam here, because again, I'm cheap, and it's easier to cut through 5 layers of it. So what I've done here is created a little pommel thing that slots right in, and it's easier to work when the whole thing's not in one. So I'll work on this separately and work on the blade first. So let's cut these things off and finish the cool wavy shape thing That's apparently on the design. Okay, that will do. This doesn't look like a blade yet because it's quite fat on the sides. So blades kind of have a tapered bit that goes, you know, the sharp bit. Let's do that. There's a really easy method to do that. So what I'm going to do is just hold my ring finger out, kind of like 2 in the pink, 1 in the stink, but the 2 in the pink grab holds onto, well, onto the pen, and the stink kind of just guides it all the way around. So it creates a very evenly marked line, about 1 centimeter ish. You can, I guess, extend that if you want the blade to tilt a bit sharper, but this will do for this purpose. I don't know if you can see it with the sunlight. There's a line, a faint line. Black on black isn't great. On both sides, and I guess I should probably do the slopey bits as well. Why not? Just to create a quick guide. Yeah. Again, because we've cut the foam a few times now, just gonna have to sharpen the blade a little bit. Oops. Make sure it's nice and sharp. Again, 1 clean cut all the way. So just tilting the blade a little bit further out. Oh, I should actually add another line right down the middle so I don't overcut it. So I'm gonna tilt the blade to this angle. You really can't see it much, to be honest. Hi, Lush. So let's give it a go. 1 blade all the way, drag it all the way through. A little bit of pressure. Oh, nice. And you get sort of a clean-ish cut. That'll do. That'll do for now. So what I'm gonna do. Sorry, I can't cut and talk at the same time. I value my fingers, so I just have to concentrate a little bit there. I'm just gonna sharpen the blade again because I can feel it getting blunt. You can definitely feel when the blade starts to get blunt because you have to put a lot more effort in. With big cuts like this, which uses the entire blade, it does blunt it quite quickly. So again, 1 cut all the way through. Oh, I sawed it because I was being lazy. Whew. And this is why we don't saw. As you can see, it's very, well, not ideal because it creates a little jagged line, which I have to clean up in a moment. So another way you can dangerously cut is put the blade against your body and drag. Some people may call it a death wish, but it's not as dangerous as you might think because you're cutting very, very slowly towards your veins. Yeah, don't try this, but you get a lot more control with the blade. So what I'm doing is 1 little drag. I'm not dragging hard at all, so I'm just slicing the foam against my body, and you get a lot more control on the depth of the cut. So again, very slowly, very gently, because the blade is sharp. I don't actually have to put much effort in it. I see all of the people cringing right now. Do I use special paints to paint on the foam? Well, I'm glad you asked. Yes, and also no. Foam, if you imagine foam being like a sponge of some sort, and it soaks up paint if you don't what we call seal it first. So you can seal it with a whole bunch of different products. I used to use PVA glue a lot, but that is a little bit rigid when it dries, so the paint, I guess for armor that bends a lot, it may start cracking. So there's this really good product called, again from Polyprops, hashtag not sponsored, but that's the best product I use so far. Called, let me just find it, Aha! Nope, this is paint. Called Hexflex. Over here. And I'll show it on the bigger screen. I don't know why you showed it on the small screen. Hexflex. So it's kind of like a flexible version of PVA glue or wood glue, whatever it is. Just stop. Basically, this is so cheap. It's like £7 a giant bottle, and it's just to stop the paint from soaking into the foam. And you can just use any sort of acrylic paint, spray paint. I really like car paints from Halfords because they're cheap enough and they come in so many different colors. And car paints is a little bit flexible if you don't over do it, basically. Right. So I'm just gonna cheat and go to the belt sander, which I don't have a camera for, but I will be 2 seconds just to tidy up the blades. Right. Ooh, that's hot in here. I'm basically just next door in my shed. I'm just gonna put myself on mute quickly. I should wear a mask. I'm definitely gonna wear a mask. I don't want to be inhaling that foam dust. Where's my mask gone? Right, be right back. Right. That was a quick job. Oh, let me just close this shed for a second. And I shall show you what I've done in like a 5-second thing. Yeah, Mod Podge is good. It's kind of like PVA glue, but a little bit flexible. What I've done on the belt sander is just to sand it down a little bit so it looks more like a blade. The sun is kind of being terrible, so I don't know if you can actually see this properly, but it's a bit better. So for these little ones here, it's going to be a bit difficult to get through. So what I'm going to do is use a belt, not a belt, a sander, a Dremel, just to sort out the edges. Mod Podge can definitely seal it, by the way. Ooh. Let me know if that's too loud, and I shall turn it down. So what I'm going to do is get in right in here, doing exactly the same thing I have on the belt sander. So this is, I suppose, a smaller belt sander version. And to clear out all of the what do you call it? The saw marks when I was sawing the foam. And because I wasn't very good at cutting, it had a little bit of a uneven line, so I'm just going to use this just to sort it out. And as you can see, all the jagged lines are disappearing really quick. And the grit I'm using for this is 120 grit sanding drums. So let's do the other side as well, just to show you guys a little bit closer what I'm doing. Let's put it here. And if Andy from Dremel was here, he would be like, ah, you gotta wear a glove. But this is my stream now, bitches. I can do what I want. I can even sand my nails. Let's not sand my nails. Am I going to be at Makers Central? Wait, when is it again? It's sometime in March, isn't it? I think I might have missed it because I've got Cos Expo coming out. Oh, speaking of Cos Expo, let's have some self-promotion here. So me and some friends have got together to make a crafting event for cosplayers. If you guys are interested in cosplay and want to learn about, because cosplay isn't just about foam making, it's about what Ellen's already done, some sewing stuff, some leather work, bit of everything in the mix really. If you're into dressmaking, those kind of stuff will suit you as well. And we're running an event on the 8th to the 9th of April at the University of Reading. So basically we have a whole bunch of different workshops with different people coming in, kind of like a live stream but actually live in person. And you can ask any questions just like you guys are now and chat. Oh, I missed a bit. Oh, this is a difficult one. I'll probably have to change it to a different drum. But who cares? This is all for demo purposes anyways. I'm just gonna wipe my hand off. This is why people keep saying wear gloves, so you don't have foam dust all over your hands. Oh. Right, we are making good time. So I've done the, I guess the big bit. Now it looks more like a dagger that you're seeing on screen, sort of, but not really. But it will do. Now we're gonna do the other bit that I'm not very good at, which is pretty much just sculpting the pommel. So right now I need to draw out the shape that I need to cut through. Let's have a look at what, oh my god, the sun on a black screen is making life a little bit difficult for me. So again, just try and find the line down the middle. Let's use a ruler, or alternatively I can use my stick to draw this line. I'm going to draw out a rough shape of how I think it's supposed to look, and then we can go from there. So probably something like this, more wavy lines, and more wavy lines up here, whatever. More wavy lines, more wavy lines, even more wavy lines, and another wavy line. This has got a lot of wavy lines, man. And then it looks like it goes like that, or whatever. So this is a giant shape. I'm gonna have to saw, because this is pretty much a belt sander job. So what I'm gonna do is just cut off as much as I can. I assume, I could be assuming wrong, if there are any woodworkers here. Kez, if you're still watching. Directed at you guys, wood people. Before you start carving things in wood or whatever, do you carve as much or saw as much of it off as, oh, JP, it's even in your name, innit? JP Woodwork. Do you guys carve as much as off as possible before you start sculpting on wood or chisel or whatever you guys use? And this is why I say foam work is a lot easier than woodwork, because I literally have one main tool, which is my box cutter, and then I'll start sanding things basically until it gets into shape. So right now I'm just cutting as much as possible off. My blade is very blunt, and you can hear the squeaks coming in. Bandsaw's great for getting rid of lots of bulk. You know what I could use? The Dremel saw. This is actually a sponsored product. It's actually really good. The scroll saw, the table saw, whatever you guys call it. Yeah, just cutting as much of it away as I can before I start shaping it with a Dremel, or even the belt sander first. Let's start cutting things here. Rightio. I think that's pretty much what I'm doing now, JP. Just winging it. So what does this shape even look like? Okay, I can sew more off. So this is the base shape. I assume I'm gonna have to cut some stuff in here or whatever. All the way down, maybe. Just cut through all the different layers, really. Let's see how many I can peel off. Definitely a saw would have been a wiser choice. Whatever. It's probably around here. Let's get the scalpel and make a curve. The scalpel is really good for tight curves because it's so small. I could have used my moto saw, but it's not set up and I cannot find it. In fact, most of the stuff from the craft off is still in my car because I'm so lazy. Now, this is the fun bit where I have to use a little bit of imagination as to what I need to start carving, because I've got a base shape here now, but I reckon I need to start carving things at angles, in angles. Oh, you better clean up after pissing yourself laughing. So keep sharpening my blade. So, I will show you what I'm trying to achieve. We may not achieve that in this hour because I'm so underprepared. I have now lost. What is this royalty-free music? My god. They always have this weird instrument that they use. This is pretty much what I'm trying to get at. So, with the pomo and stuff, again, it's exactly the same techniques. I'm going to show you guys a little bit closer. So, let's bring it down. This blade here, if you can see, it's exactly the same. It's longer. It's got those little wavy bits, notches in here. I'll bring it a bit closer. So instead of having just this bit that goes downwards, I just cut the whole thing in half, pretty much. And as you can see, this is just off the belt sander, because since this is quite dense foam, I just took the whole thing to the belt sander and made a very straight sanding bit, I suppose. I think that just getting anything straight, it's extremely difficult, I think, because if you mess up on wood, it's a little bit more forgiving, but if you mess up on foam, you literally just sand an entire chunk out and you just kind of have to wing it from there. So exactly the same techniques, but for a slightly bigger sword. For the, I guess, hand guard, whatever you want to call it, I just put different layers on top of each other and made a little, I guess, round thing that looks cool. Again, in here I did the same technique as this, so carved out some bits, kind of like bananas, and start carving and cutting things, really. Easy peasy. And the advantage of foam, people are going to hate this, is it's pretty indestructible, so I can try and bend this, because it's not wood, I used a fiberglass rod, and it's pretty darn sturdy. And as you can see, hasn't really made a dent on the sword. So a lot of people use this for LARPing, and for LARPing you just have to coat it a little bit differently, a bit more sturdy, I suppose, as opposed to just for cosplay purposes, because I think for LARP you use many layers of latex. I think at least 8 is what Artifix has taught me, before you start using latex pigments to color your prop, I suppose. But that means it's pretty darn indestructible. So what am I going to do? Right, I'm going to start carving things into a point and start sawing chunks off. Yeah, why not? Just saw it and then see what happens, pretty much. Master JP has taught me, wing it. I am not a sculptor, and I'm not very creative. In fact, that's a question for you guys, isn't it? Do you guys think you are creative? Because for myself, I don't think I'm creative. I'm good at copying other people's designs and making it, fabricating things with a design that already exists, but I wouldn't be able to even attempt to create something from scratch because that would be a bit crazy. Oh, that's so much better. As soon as I've sharpened the blade, I can feel the difference already. It's so much easier cutting this. Let's have a look. So yeah, start carving things out, and it's starting to, I say starting to take shape, but it doesn't look like it is. And I just need to keep sharpening my blade as I go. Just, I think, definitely take note in how often I'm sharpening the blade, because when I first started doing foam work, I just went until I couldn't cut anymore, and then changed the blade. But I change the blade a lot less, but I sharpen it more often because, I mean, until you've tried it for yourself, you don't know what you're missing out with a sharp blade, really. And the effort of it, and I guess it increases in safety as well, because you're not using so much effort. You get more control in what you're cutting and where you're cutting. You get more precise cuts and better as well. There's no shape left to get created. What we can do is change the size of the order of arrangement. What do you mean, Pete? Right, because I think there's a delay in stream. What I said like 30 seconds ago, I've forgotten. Right, I'm starting to see some shape. Not perfect, but it is something. Right, let's have a look to see if I can fit it in here and to make it look like something. Yes, so I need to cut the middle out, I think. Let's cut the middle out to fit the blade in. Oops! Well, there's a plane outside. I don't know if you guys can hear it. I'm right by a tiny private airport. And they're always flying shit around here. If it's not flying, it's the military base around the corner, which they keep firing cannons at God knows what time in the morning. I'm like, my God, do you guys not sleep or something? Right. I think it's starting to take shape. It's not quite what it is in the picture, but hopefully with a little bit more work we can make it look a little bit more similar. So what I'm doing here is just tapering it a little bit more, just to give it a bit more shape. All very, very rough cuts. I shall... Oh yeah, creators copiers. Yeah, sorry, I completely forgot what I asked, to be honest. And that is fair. So this looks a bit awful, but after shaping and sanding, I think that would look slightly less awful. At least I hope, anyways. Oops. Not too bothered about the rough cuts at the moment, because it's still very, very early stages of things. Ah, I have more shape. Yay! This looks like a little animal thing. And let's start really taking chunks out, because currently it's still very like a fat block, and we just need to do this and start taking chunks off, because I think with wood and stuff you guys might have a hard time doing things like this, because you'll just have to reset the saw, put it into a different angle, be extremely precise and that kind of stuff. But with foam you just kind of hack and slash, and you can basically build a giant sword in an afternoon, really. A lot of people ask, oh my god, that must have taken you ages. And sometimes it does, but if you know the design you're working on and kind of worked out all the shapes in advance, the actual building itself, it's fairly, I think, relaxing process. So I'm still hacking a lot of huge chunks off to get the base shape. I'm going to start cutting and winging it. Again, this is not, for any sort of competition, or so accuracy isn't even on the board right now. Just making shapes that looks reasonable. And now we have shapes. Yay. Let's see if I can get this a bit more fat, I suppose. Oh, it's definitely not symmetrical. Won't be getting points for that. So right, let's give it a bit of a curve, because everybody likes curves. Okay, let's get a little curve to match the waviness of it. This bit in the middle looks alright, so I'm just gonna hack into it a little bit. Yeah, that'll do. And I think we need to start using a scalpel for these finer bits in the middle, just to taper it off. You know what? You know what they say. Fuck it. Wait, what kind of stream is this? This is supposed to be family friendly. I mean, F it. Apologies for my potty mouth if children are watching at God knows what time on a Saturday. In fact, you should be outside playing. When I was little, I was playing out in the streets with a basketball. Oh, speaking of children's games, do you guys used to play this game? I don't know what it's called like in different parts of the country, but we call it Kirby, where you just stand on both sides of the road on top of the curb, and you start throwing the ball on the curb, and if you hit the curb and it bounces, you get a point, and first to 10 points wins, or something like that. I miss playing that game. The roads are just not wide enough, or too wide now, and too busy to play those kind of games, really. Sad times. I not have no friends to play with. Would you play with me? Yeah, I am. Thailand is a nice place. Have you guys been to Thailand? I have once when I was little. So, we start having a shape. Aww. There we go. Shove it in. If it doesn't fit, use some force. For foam, I was referring to foam. That could be ambiguous. Please don't arrest me and take it out of context. Right, let's see. It looks like it's fitting. The curves are doing something. Ta-da! Now I think this is the last few minutes. I'm going to start sanding it out, so I will put myself on mute and wear a dust mask. Let me go find myself a dust mask. I don't want to be breathing all this foam dust. In fact, I may not mute myself. Because, oh, check out this tip. The quick release tip. You just literally twist and get a new tip on. This is great. Fantastic for foam work because I'm changing tips all of the time. So, let me know if this is too loud. So as you can see, after I've hacked the shape off, I'm using a 80 grit one to take even more chunks off. Well, whereas the little one, I think that's 120 grit. So right now I'm just taking chunks off, just smoothing out the shapes. I would also recommend wearing some protective glasses so foam doesn't fly in your eye. But the way I'm doing it should be alright because the foam's flying to the side of it rather than right in my eye. So as you can see here, I'll bring it a bit closer. I'm still taking huge chunks off, but now I'm rounding the shapes off as well. Ooh. That wasn't a pleasant sound, was it? So, can you see these? Oh my god. The sun is freaking awful, isn't it? I'll try and block the sun. So we're working in the shade a little bit, so you can see a little bit more. Yeah, that's slightly better. See, I'm sanding it right out. It's pretty much the same as the belt sander, but you get a little bit more finger control here. Easy peasy. All of these sole marks I'm getting rid of. Exactly the same on the other side. So a lot of the times people usually recommend, oh, you don't need to cut it down, you just kind of Dremel it into shape. Yeah, you can do that, but I guess there's just more mess in it. Not at MegaCon. No, I haven't been to a con in ages. Our next con is Cosexpo. Come to Cosexpo, please. But nah, I'm just poor. And with Cosexpo being so close, in fact, I only have like, well, to go into Birmingham, that's 2 hours drive, which is, what, 50 quid on petrol return? It's not really worth, to be honest. And I haven't finished the costume in frickin' years. Well, the last costume I built is this one over here. The armor bits are pretty much done. But the fabric bits aren't because I'm lazy AF. So as you can see here, I'm still taking a lot of chunks off, trying to taper all the edges. Thanks for the sub. So as you can see now, it's starting to take shape. It's looking a lot smoother than it did a little while ago. As you can see, it gets very, very messy real quick. So what I would do is wear gloves. I wish I could come to Cosexpo, but it's a bit risky for me to do cons. That is fair enough. Well, have you heard about the infection rate in the last week? 1 million infection a week. Crazy, innit? What's your favorite costume you've made? Well, that is also a good question. I don't have one favorite one. I think every costume I've done so far, I've done it in a different way that I haven't tried before because I have so much, in fact, so much to learn. So every costume so far, I've done a different technique I've never done before, and I go, oh my god, that's the most awesome thing I've ever done. And then until the next costume. This is just foam, kind of like camping mats, but in a very big shape. They call it EVA foam. It's quite cheap. The cheapest one, which is craft foam that Polyprops do, which is about what, £10 for 2 meters by 1 meter. Sorry, I was just reading the Twitch chat. Lush is my only Twitch fan, so I completely forgot to read that. Sorry about that. Anyways, I got sidetracked. Yeah, this is foam. Yeah, and stuff. Different densities, it goes up in price. The more dense it is, the more expensive it gets. It gets to like 30 quid for 2 meters by 1 meter. But with that amount, you can accomplish quite a lot, to be honest. In fact, the costume behind you only used like 2 sheets of foam, maybe. Do I use some sort of extractor? No, I just have a Hoover on my floor and I just clean up and wear a mask, really. So after this, I'll just hoover up my table and then we're good to go for another round, really. Oh, one of the things, details. So you can see lots of little details going on there. So what I'm going to do is just carve a little bit more out and start carving some details in. In fact, I'll use, for the details, I'll use a scalpel. So all of these little gill marks that it has for the wavy design, I'm just going to cut in like V shapes. And then again, using a smaller Dremel, start dremeling that out. So just the V shape to cut a channel. Again, it doesn't really matter, just to give it more, make it look less like a block, to be honest. But I would definitely wear a mask. I wouldn't start sanding without a dust mask of some sort, because the particles are so big, it's not going to get through the mask, to be honest. I can do it for the other side, but whatever. Let's see, what other details are there? I guess they have these kind of bits on here that make it look more aggressive. So I'll just do that. You might have to squint and use your imagination because this is still early work, so I should have, done what was suggested. 7 minutes, cool. I guess if you want to see the finished product, I would say follow my social media, but I probably won't finish it because I'm that lazy. But I will attempt to finish it. Yeah, I guess these bits, just work on it in layers, really. If you don't want to carve into it, you can start building using different density of foams. In fact, I'm pretty much done. I can work on this for the rest of the weekend. Yeah, I guess let's do that. Follow me on the socials on Kenny Cosplay Stuff, and then I shall post some progress on this. And hopefully I shall redeem myself from this embarrassment. So before I go, have you guys got any questions left? There is a bit of a delay, so I am also very bad at reading chat. I shall remember what I've said. And let's go from there. So I've just made a little bit of dents and whatever else. This bit that goes up. Oh wait, that's that side. Oh well. And then yeah, start putting more details in here, I suppose. Ta-da! Bit of a show you back. Hang on, let's move this up so you can see the whole thing. This is what we got so far. Not too bad for an hour's work. I think maybe a couple more hours we should have something more finished. And less crappy, really. Yeah, let's work on some more details while we have a few more minutes. Let's have a look at what it's supposed to look like. I guess it's got some holes. I hate holes. So where is my... I suppose I can put a hole on here. Yeah, let's do that. Why not? Let's put a hole, a wavy hole, right in the middle of the blade because everyone loves holes in blades. What superhero costume gets most chicks? Oh, I'm just gonna elaborate on that because I get asked quite a lot. Oh my god, do you ever, get kinky in your costume? The answer is no, because you are like the most sweaty mess ever in the history of man. I guess if you're dressing up to get chicks, you might be in for a bad time because you're just so sweaty and it's disgusting. Imagine going out in summer, wrapped in a blanket, an insulated blanket, for an entire day. You'll be the most disgusting, sweaty mess ever. And if you still get pulled, I am happy for you, man. No, I haven't actually, JP. Cool, I think this is pretty much what we have for an hour. Just, I guess, elaborating on these small details, just giving a bit more curve. Cutting it in different angles, experiment with different angles, and make sure, I guess the most important thing if you are to take one thing away from it, is to have a sharp blade, because without a sharp blade, you're going to have a bad time. So here I'm just exaggerating some of the details with 2 minutes to spare. And then ta-da, it looks like we have a hole in the middle of the blade just to give it more shape. So what I'm going to do next, with 1 minute to spare, is just to taper this a lot more so it doesn't look like such a sharp fat blade on the belt sander, and it looks more, I guess, smooth. And just to, I guess, start working on this and hack things out into a more recognizable shape. K-Cat, welcome back. I'm just about to piss off today, so you joined at a bad time, unfortunately. Oh my god, I know what you mean. People want to wear the helmet after you've been sweating. On my War Machine helmet, I had a pool of sweat right on the chin because it just all collects right there. And when I take the helmet off, it drips down my chest. And I couldn't put the helmet on. I'm like, at your own risk. Even before COVID, it was disgusting. Anyways, on that note, thank you very much, you guys, for joining the stream. Maybe I should stream more because I've been so lazy and not streaming. In fact, streaming will make me make cosplay, and I'll probably stream after Cosexpo, that is. Alright, hopefully I'll see you guys soon at Cosexpo. If not, maybe next stream. Thank you very much. I'm gonna see if I can find this off button somewhere. This is always the worst bit. I'm like a boomer now. Where are my buttons gone?